All right. Black Box Radio. We are in the box. It's a cool night in Baltimore City. I'm telling you, it's rain. We had a little nor'easter joint. It got a little cold. So it's cool outside. It rained earlier, a little snow, but now we're real clear, but it's clear and cool. I'm in downtown Baltimore City. Y'all know how we do this thing. We are in Baltimore. We love my Baltimore, and we're in the BMore BLaK series. This is Black History Month. And our annual series, this is our third iteration of this series. Every year we have it. This is our third year, and we have 7 voices this year, and we're on our second voice. So I'm going to get to him, but right now I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Queen. I'm a host of Black Box Radio. We are a multimedia platform illustrating Black excellence. We disseminate information to the Black community and other communities. We platform Black people. And more than anything, we humanize the Black experience. So that's what we do every day, all day. We're Black centered. We're a Black media platform in Baltimore. You can get in touch with us at our email. It's blackboxradio@gmail.com. We also have a website. Please subscribe. Blackboxradio.com is our website. Blackboxradio@gmail.com is our email. And listen, we have problems with social media sometimes, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Black Box Radio. That's where you will get all of our content. It's never any interruption. Subscribe to our YouTube. Please do that. All right, so let's get down to business. It's BMore BLaK. I'm so excited. You know, guys, I always said, listen, we're going to talk about cadre of different things, food. We're going to talk about some the utility of cannabis. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. But tonight, this is more of a tech talk. So we're going to talk a little about technology. We're going to talk about digital equity, access to technology, those type of things. So that's something that we need to put primary into our thoughts, because the world is moving and has moved towards technology. Everything we do, technology is involved. So tonight we have the executive director of Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition, Cody Dorsey. Say hi to the people.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Queen. I'm excited about our conversation.
And I'm so glad you're here. Listen, guys, he's out of town. He's not in Baltimore. He's at a conference, and he still is riding with with your girl. So listen, I'm so happy to have you, Cody. Thanks for taking some time while you're in Philadelphia. You're at a technology convention. Am I correct?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I am. You said greetings from downtown Baltimore, greetings from downtown Philadelphia. I am at
Mm-hmm.
Net Inclusion, which is the nation's digital inclusion conference where people from across the country come together to talk about digital inclusion and how we ensure digital equity across the nation.
Oh, very interesting. So I'm sure it's amazing to be around other people with like like thoughts, like movements, and kind of share what you guys are doing all over the country. That's probably a real powerful piece right now.
Very powerful, good for networking. But what I am most enjoying about my time here so far is an opportunity to learn best practices, what works, what doesn't, and where we can really collaborate where appropriate.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Now let's move back to Baltimore. I know you're in Philly right now, but you're Baltimore baby. So listen,
Born and raised,
that's
product
right.
of
We want
public
to hear the
schools.
background. We want to hear you shout
Yep,
your school out. Where were you born and raised? Are
yep,
you from Baltimore? Tell us a little bit about you.
yep. West Baltimore, born and raised. Went to public schools, graduated from public schools. Love
Okay.
Baltimore. Baltimore is home for me, and I plan to be in Baltimore for as long as I can be in Baltimore.
I love it. Love it. Be more. You be more kid.
Yep,
Yeah, I love that. I'm an
yep.
implant. I love Baltimore so much. I love when I hear people from here and they shout out Baltimore, because I think Baltimore is so beautiful. So, what I really want to talk about is technology and the access of, and where Baltimore is in that kind of in this moment. So, can you tell us a little bit about the DEC, the Digital Equity Coalition? What really is that?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about BDAC. I'm really proud how BDAC came about. It took some folks who said during the pandemic, we have a problem with uh, people accessing the internet, people having access to affordable devices, and
Yeah.
folks then learning how to use the devices once they got them and were connected to the internet. So digital skills.
Yes.
And so we were founded. We had in the beginning about 50 members. We've since grown to be about 100 members, and we were founded with a goal of closing the digital divide through four main goals, which was access to internet connectivity,
Uh-huh.
access to affordable devices, access to digital skills training and technical support, and then advocacy. So, one of the big things I'm really proud that the coalition did, and this predates me, but we asked the mayor of Baltimore to create a office of broadband and digital equity, which he did. And since then, that office has been doing some good work around making sure that we were distributing devices. The city's digital inclusion strategy has come out to actually provide some pathway for how the city is going to work to close the digital divide. And I'm really excited about the direction that we're going in because in the beginning, it was very much COVID rapid response. How do we solve the issue amid COVID now that everyone's home? But since
Yes.
then, since COVID is still here, but the pandemic phase is over, we have since transitioned into doing more advocacy work. We know that the future of this work is making sure that vital resources make their way to Baltimore. Because for me, as I always say, that this is not just about internet connectivity. This is about connecting people, our people, to
Mm-hmm.
economic opportunity. In the 21st century, everything is digital. It's
Yep.
digital equity is workforce development.
Yep.
Digital equity. Last night, I understand you spoke about food security
Yep.
and food insecurity. That is, food security is health equity, and health equity is digital equity in the
Yeah.
21st century. Digital
Absolutely.
equity is education equity. We think about when everyone went home during COVID and now young people could not connect to virtual learning. That's a problem.
It's a
We
problem.
people who did not have the internet, they suffered from learning loss that put them behind their counterparts who had the
Yep.
means to be connected to the internet. So we really have a lot of work to do.
Yep.
And when we talk about digital inclusion, we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to connect to the internet. We want to make sure that everyone, it doesn't matter your zip code, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter if you're disabled or not, it doesn't matter if you are incarcerated or not.
Yep.
We want everyone to know how to operate and reach their full potential in a new digital world that we're now in.
That is ambitious. It's ambitious, but I think it's very doable, and it's something we have to do. And when, especially when it comes to Black people, we already have other ancillary issues,
Mm-hmm.
and not being accessible to technology that deals with our living wage, with being able to make money because you need
Absolutely.
technology. That's a problem in our community, and a lot of times we're worrying and we're trying to hustle just to eat and take care of ourselves. We're not
Right.
thinking we got a phone, we good,
Right.
but understand that a phone limits your access, and so you definitely need a device at some point. And so you guys are you a part of giving out the Chromebooks or the device give that the
So
library is doing?
so we have worked with Pratt Library in the past for device distribution to Baltimore students. Pratt Library in the city of Baltimore working to distribute those devices, which is great.
Which is great.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that you mentioned specifically Black people.
Yep.
In cities like Baltimore, where we are less likely to be connected to the internet than our other counterparts, it is
Absolutely.
absolutely important. And the National Skills Coalition, they say 92% of jobs today will require some level of digital skills. Like you need to know how to work, not just a computer, but an app. You
Uh-huh.
have to know how to work a phone to do your job.
Uh-huh.
So it is important that the folks not only have a device and then the internet, but they actually know how to use it. That's a big component of it. And
Access
for
is
a
huge
number of
too.
reasons, I was speaking to an older adult and she said to me, there's this perception that we want to connect to the internet as older adults to get on our virtual church or to order our prescriptions or telehealth. She said, but a lot of older adults still work and we want to know how to get on the internet and work our devices because we still have the opportunity to work.
That's true.
So that is important, understanding the importance of connectivity. And while we're on that subject, I do want to say that there was a report that was established that was written about 4 years ago, and it told us that 40% of households in Baltimore, 96,000 households in Baltimore,
Do
were
not
without
have
connectivity.
device.
Today, that number is a little lower. We're in the 30s now, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh,
But
we are?
yeah,
Okay.
it's lowering. But I do want to say to you that we have something called the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP,
Mm-hmm.
which is the government's subsidy, internet subsidy, which gives you $30 per month towards your internet bill. Maryland was adding an additional $15, so $45 altogether towards eligible
Isn't that
households.
slated though to be defunded?
So
Am I?
you're absolutely right. So the
Yes.
last application was accepted on 11:59 p.m. February the 7th last week,
Yep.
and funding is set to run out in April. We
Exactly.
need Congress to act on the Affordable Connectivity Program Extension Act of 2024, which is bipartisan, bicameral legislation in Congress to invest funds. I think it's $7 billion to continue that program because it has proven to be a lifeline for so many people. This is about connecting people from across the country, connecting people in their neighborhoods, and it is so important that we continue to have that subsidy.
Renew the what act? I'm writing this in the chat.
Yep, the legislation is the
Mm-hmm.
Affordable Connectivity Program Extension Act of 2024.
Affordable connectivity. Wow. We need that
We
because
need it.
we just do. It definitely. And then Maryland actually putting $15 more. That helps a lot. I mean,
It's a
folks,
big help.
it's a big help. It might sound very trivial to some people, but to some people, this is a lifeline. This is how they get they connect to the internet. And that is a problem in the household. So we see that those households have gone down from connectivity, but that will swell right back up.
Correct.
And
That's what I believe.
yeah, I think it will. And I think COVID has brought a lot of attention to our lack of attention, let's say, to technology and people's access.
Absolutely. The
It,
issue
it,
was
it
always
blew it
here.
blew it blew the top off everything.
Correct.
Yeah,
It was
and
it was
it's a
no
good
longer
thing.
easy. It was no longer easy to ignore.
It's actually
And
exactly.
I'm thinking about when folks had to apply for unemployment and people had to apply for any sort of social welfare benefit, where they had to then go online to do it. And that prevented them from getting the necessary assistance that they needed during the pandemic. This is Congressman John Lewis, the civil rights icon who has since passed. Before he passed, said that the access to the internet was a civil rights issue of the 21st century. This is how serious this is. The
Mhm.
internet is a utility in the 21st century.
Absolutely, it is. It is absolutely utility. We see it every day, and to the point where if you have a phone, you're connecting daily,
Mhm.
all day, every day to the internet.
Mhm.
It is something that has become a part of our lives. We've been
Correct.
socially engineered to love technology. It's a part of even in a lot of people using in their homes. AI, the Siris and the Alexa. These girls didn't just
Absolutely.
these girls didn't just jump up in here. These girls is technology, and
Yes.
and the convenience of technology is the other thing. Is that we live in a world where we want convenience, and technology brings
Mhm.
that to our world on a daily basis. I'm listening. Our watches now, our
Mhm.
phones. We can talk in our
Mhm.
watches. Those things that we saw on television when I was a little kid. we're
But it's
actually
also
we're
that
actually doing.
social emotional connection,
It
Queen,
is,
to
yeah.
the internet and to adopting digital skills. Because I'm just thinking, as you say this, as you were talking about the phone,
Yeah.
uh, and I don't know about you, but a couple of weeks ago I used Uber Eats. And I would not be able to do that if I did not have the internet to
Better
connect to
know
be
it.
able to order that. So again, it's a social emotional component. Or we understand that there are some discounts that are only available from different stores if you're ordering online, and
Yes, or through an
so
app.
or
Yeah,
through an app. So
exactly.
that's important as well, that we are connecting for reasons even beyond what we may think is a necessity, like education, like healthcare, but
Yep.
also in our everyday lives, using it for different purposes.
And we take for granted 911 to have a system in these technology,
Correct.
and so we just don't know that we're accessing it on a nominal base. Our cars, when you get in your car,
Yep.
it is these cars are technologically sound
Mhm.
right now, and
The
so
Easy Pass, they're
everything.
no longer, the attendants are no longer there.
That's right.
So again, digital equity is everything. It's even transportation equity.
It's
You
everywhere.
know.
Food, it's everywhere. And so it's something that I think as Black people, we have to have the conversation. Sometimes we tend to react, but we have to be proactive, and we have to understand that this is something that we need. It grows us as a community too. The community needs it. And so when it comes, you said there are 4 pillars. I want to kind of discuss that. You said one was access
Yep, to internet connectivity.
to the connectivity.
Yep,
Yeah.
access to affordable devices.
So okay, so that piece, is this the Chromebooks? So that's going to Baltimore City schools.
So the
So
Chromebooks went to the city of Baltimore, and there are a number of criteria. I think the easiest way to explain this, the way it's been explained to me, is that if you qualify for ACP, which is
yeah,
the Affordable Connectivity
yeah.
Program, you qualify for a Chromebook. There are a number of different ways to be eligible. One of the easiest ways that we
How about
often
like
discuss
SNAP?
is that SNAP, or if you get free or reduced lunch. And but
Okay.
you know, today in Baltimore, every child gets free and reduced lunch here in
Beautiful.
Baltimore now. So
Beautiful.
that is one way to be eligible. And so the city has thousands and thousands and dozens of thousands of Chromebooks to distribute. And they are working diligently and closely with the Enoch Pratt Free Library, which has just been a stellar partner in distributing those devices because they have several different branches. The libraries are true community hubs. They are trusted partners in the community. And I say that Pratt has done a good job because they have so many different initiatives at the library, like Lawyer in the Library, where they're helping people with some legal advice and helping to expunge records if necessary. Social Worker in the Library. So people come to the library to use the computer to apply for jobs. So if folks are already there, if they are eligible, and we know that they're eligible for a device, let's get them signed up. Let's get them signed up for it. Let's get them a device in hand. And so a lot of this work you mentioned earlier, you know, we as Black people, a lot of this work is about folks trusting each other. And a lot of it is digital navigation. I know you've heard of digital navigators. And a lot of the ways that we get people connected and we get them skilled is through working with digital navigators. But they have to trust you. You have to have a relationship so that we can be effective.
Yeah, Cody, we got to break into that because you sound like the Enoch Pratt marketing division, and I hear you, brother.
Well, I'm a Team Baltimore.
I hear you. So let me break that down.
Team
I'm not.
I'm Team Baltimore when it comes to marketing, and I know that they are doing great work, and they have been
Okay.
doing great work for a long time
Mm.
around this issue, and they are well versed in what they offer because they have different librarians for different things. You know, they have a workforce librarian and a nonprofit librarian and different librarians to help with everything. It's not just about checking out books anymore. It's about meeting people where they are to help them. And a lot of folks they have a digital equity team. A lot of folks have relied on institutions who are
You
in
actually are marking the
communities
vision for
for
them.
help.
I love it. You know everything they do. I'm like, do you work for Enoch Pratt? My
I
goodness.
once did. I once did.
Oh,
That
okay.
was,
Well, what
yeah.
I want to say as a community person, because what we do is we bring you guys in who are actually in space and you're in those rooms, but also with my job is to ask the hard questions
Okay.
and also kind of be the gap for the community, because in a lot of areas people do not feel the Enoch Pratt Library is doing a good job. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I went to Morgan, near the Enoch Pratt Library near Morgan is beautiful. You can get a lot of services there, but a lot of services in these neighborhoods that are troubled with Enoch Pratt near Southwest, North Avenue, they don't have the programming. And I think that is unfortunate. There's no attack, but I think that if we're going to be truthful, we have to understand that the hands can't be just downtown. Not everyone can get downtown. And I think Enoch Pratt they're doing a great job. Listen, I don't want to kick what they're doing. What I'm saying is some of these ancillary libraries that are out in we would say not oppressed, marginalized areas, they don't have the programming that I would see that's going downtown. It's going down on what's the street? I forgot that street.
On Cathedral Street.
Huh?
Cathedral Street, the
Well,
main
Cathedral, but
library.
the other one that they do a lot of programming also at the one by the post office of I forgot New Orleans Street. So they do programming in certain areas, and I understand that you probably can't do it in each library, but I think that they have to look at these libraries that are in marginalized neighborhoods or communities in
Absolutely.
Baltimore and bring more programming, because people, I never knew that they had all of these teams that you're talking about. So
Yep.
this marketing that you're talking about, it needs to be extended to people who actually don't have a lot of access.
Well, two
You
things about that.
okay,
We, in an ideal world, every community that wanted a library would have one. I
absolutely,
must. The reality is that not every neighborhood has a library. That's number one.
absolutely.
Now, another reality is that there are several branches, to my understanding, that are undergoing renovation to better serve the community. So
Oh, well, that makes
that's
sense.
number one. It's number
Excellent.
two. And then the third one is actually hearing feedback like yours to know what needs to happen. You're absolutely right.
I would love to talk to them. I don't know how to
You
get
should,
to
and you
them.
should. We will make sure that you're connected. Let me tell you, I do this work every day, and we have
Hmm.
almost 100 members in the Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition. We very much are a coalition. So I get to see a lot of the work around this issue very, very closely.
Excellent.
We understand, and I say this because we understand that a number of people don't understand, may not know this, but digital equity is intersectional, and it intersects with housing as well. It
Hmm.
intersects with a number of things. We're talking about what does it
Employment.
mean? What does it mean for public housing
Yep.
residences to be connected to the internet and
Sure.
to have the infrastructure
Yep.
to do that?
Yep.
We know there are a lot of older buildings that it's more difficult to get connected to
Sure.
the internet. So what are we doing around that? So yes, we will make sure that you have my word. We'll make sure you're connected to the right people at Pratt so that we can so they can provide some updates
Yeah, and
on
I would
what's
like for them to
happening.
talk to the people more or less, because a lot of these things that you're talking about, I had no idea. And
Yep.
I'm one that go in the library. I don't go there a lot,
Yep.
but when I do go in, and I've been to a few events there too,
Hmm.
and I didn't know that they had like these teams and
Hmm.
nonprofit, like that's next
Hmm.
level, and other people should be able to access that, but they just don't know. And a lot of folks again don't have access, and they don't have
Hmm.
access to the information, and so they can come out and talk to us, or have something, whereas it comes to these ancillary branches like Pigtown and North Avenue, and these areas that particularly don't have a lot of programming at all.
Hmm.
And but there's a lot of activity around them, but not any programming, unfortunately.
I will also say this, that because I've gone with the Pratt Library when we did device distributions, they also go um, in very um,
Be careful.
underrated locations
Underrated.
to make sure that devices are distributed equitably. So
Okay.
I was with them. We were at the Mac Lewis boxing gym giving out devices.
Excellent.
They go to barbershops.
Excellent.
And so that is important, as well as actually going to people and
Yep.
not always asking people who to come to you. And that's something that I see often, is that oftentimes the person who needs the most help, we ask them to do the most work. And that is not how we're going to equitably help anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not lost on me that the word equity is in our name, and we have to do everything that we can to be equitable in how we do things.
Sure, sure, sure. And I like what you said is about equity, because it's very important. Sometimes what we think is equal is not particularly equal to
No.
others. Yeah, and so we have to be very careful when we throw around equity and who's in the room. And I think a lot of times, if not, come to some of our folks who are on the ground, and let's set up something where the people are present, and then you could do your thing. You can give out your Chromebooks. Maybe that need to be something that you have an event for the folks, so they can understand what more is going on in the community. Pratt now, and they'll know what's more is going on in the community. It'd be more of a reciprocal action.
Hmm.
Folks talking to the library, and the library talks to them. So I think that that's important.
Absolutely.
It's very important. And so the last thing you said also was digital skills. Am I correct?
Hmm. Well,
Okay.
digital skills, and then the last one was advocacy. But yes, let's talk about digital
Yeah,
skills
let's talk about
first.
digital skills, because it is, you can make access fiber everywhere, but if a person doesn't know how to actually use their device or any device, then we need skill sets. So how are we going to get to that?
Yep. So we have a number of organizations here in Baltimore that we work with that are actually making sure that young people and older adults and those who are veterans are getting skills.
Okay.
So I want to just name four off the top of my head that I know. That is Bite Back, that is Empower, that's Pass It On, and Perscolas that are doing great work in getting
What's the
people
last
this
one?
Perscolas.
Per scholars.
Yep. And they are working very hard to make sure that those who want to have tech careers or get certified in a different tech program are able to
Mm-hmm.
do so. And I have seen them open doors for a lot of not just young people, but a lot of older people, middle aged people as well, who want the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And you mentioned AI earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the conversations that sometimes I have is that people don't know what's real and what's fake. I know you've heard that before. And that is very much a
True.
digital skills thing. Cybersecurity and protecting yourself online is very much a digital skills component to that.
Yes.
So that is very important to know, not just in the sense of how to work a device, but how to protect yourself in a digital world as well.
Your protection, but also being able to utilize AI. You have to know how to prompt it.
Sure,
Yeah, it has to be prompt correctly because you don't get all the information if you don't prompt it correctly.
that's right.
And so, and remember, this thing has been coded. So through that code, you have to prompt it a certain way so it can give you the best information. So the skill set thing, I think, is very important, and giving skills to the community. And I want to see more of that. Like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to? Some people who've never actually touched a computer or been around computers just maybe walked through someplace with computers, but never in their homes, or they've never been around computers per se. How do we get them to touch one? How do we get them to understand with a keyboard, a mouse, just the small things. So people can get acclimated and understand that technology is our friend, and we have to utilize it and apply it in our lives because it's not going away.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the skills thing I think is very important. So okay, the fourth one, because you said that was the third one. I'm
And the
wrong.
fourth one is advocacy. And how do
Advocacy.
you mobilize to get things done?
Done.
Of course, I mentioned earlier we advocated and asked the mayor to create an Office of Broadband and Digital Equity, which he did. We're really proud of that. Number two is this was in 2021. This predates me as well, but it's really important. We championed something called the Digital Connectivity Act of 2021. And one of the main pieces of that act was the previous governor had the Governor's Office of Rural Broadband. But we
Hmm.
know that broadband isn't just a rural issue, it's an
It
urban
is
issue,
not.
it's a Maryland issue.
Yeah.
And so that office is now the Office of Statewide Broadband. Thank you to,
Ooh.
yes, it has a statewide focus. So a big shout out to now Comptroller Brooke Learman, previously delegate from Baltimore City, and
Yes.
Senator Sarah Eifert of Anne Arundel County of Annapolis, for really having the foresight to introduce and pass that legislation so that when we are thinking about how do we ensure digital equity, it is not only a rural issue, it is now one that takes into consideration that we are one Maryland.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful about making it rural or making it urban or making it. It's an issue everywhere, and
Sure,
there's a lot of issues around poverty and lack of
absolutely.
it. So when you see people, and that can be anywhere, rural, urban, top of the world. If you have a lack of resources, you have a lack of getting towards technology. So that's what happens, and you see it actually proliferates all over Maryland. So I think we got to get out of just rural or just urban.
Hmm.
Everyone needs access.
We are more alike than unalike.
You better know it.
And we all face the same issues, whether it's infrastructure or affordability.
Absolutely.
And when we're thinking about plans and putting plans together, and
Hmm.
the state of Maryland, we know you probably remember we had the draft of the state digital equity plan. We
Hmm.
want to make sure that that includes all 24 jurisdictions in
Okay.
the state of Maryland.
In the state of Maryland,
Mm,
and that's important. And what I do want to know, because Baltimore is the biggest city in Maryland,
correct.
we know that, and density is a lot of people in Baltimore, and it's a lot of Black people in Baltimore. We're black.
Sure.
We're black
We're a
centered.
majority Black city.
That's that. Listen, I'm throwing it out there. I'm glad you said it. And we're a black centered platform, and it's very important to mobilize Black people. That's my
Sure.
intentional goal. And I want to know what particularly, because a lot of what I see is everyone's talking about like your 4 pillars, which listen, very sensical, very good approaches, but we also sometimes lack culture. And when I say that is a lot of times when you're teaching or when you're trying to access people, they don't trust you because you don't talk the same, or they don't.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? It is
Mhm.
nothing black or white. It's just culture. That's just what it is.
Well,
And
yeah.
and
People
how are
don't
we
learn from
addressing that?
people. People don't learn from people they don't like or trust.
You better know it. That's
So
it.
that's correct.
Yeah, so I'm
And
trying
so,
to, and that's what I hear. I hear all the pillars, but no one talks about that we live in a black city,
mhm,
and if you want black folks to pay attention, they have to sometimes, not sometimes, they have to see themselves.
sure.
You have to center with them at some point, and also be able to converse and converse with them in a level that they understand. And
Mhm.
I don't see that part of anybody's plan. I think we're very much so of we want everyone to have access, but if they don't speak your language, you don't want to hear
Sure.
it.
Sure.
So what is that? Is there anything around
Well,
culture and
that that's a proverb where it says, if you speak to a man in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But if you speak to him in his language, it goes to his heart.
oh,
And so
love
you're
it.
absolutely right that we do benefit when people can relate to people.
Absolutely.
When people can say, our question in Baltimore is, what high school did you go to? When you can say, oh, I went to Dunbar, or I went to Poly, or I went to City, or
Yep.
I went to, a school that may
Western.
not be around anymore, Lake Clifton or something.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what
but
was up when you people said that.
you know
Yeah,
that is really Baltimore.
exactly.
And so that's important, and it makes you effective. And so that's part of the reason that we function as a coalition, because the reality is I won't know everyone. I won't be able to relate to everybody. But there is someone in our nearly 100 members who will. There is someone who will be able to say and vouch for people so that we can get things done. So this is very much about collaboratively working together and understanding that in order to close the digital divide, you cannot do it on your own. You cannot operate in a vacuum, that you actually need a community of people working together to solve this issue. I'm going to tell you this, and I don't know if I say this often enough. One of the first meetings that I had was with a disability rights group. And at the time, we were talking about the city coming out with a digital equity plan. And they said to me, I just want to make sure that someone who is deaf, blind, and mute can have access to technology if they want to. And I will tell you the God honest truth. I was not thinking that far in our conversation about digital equity, but because I took the time to listen to people, I now know how deep digital inclusion is and
Mm-hmm.
what it means to have everyone
Absolutely.
included and everyone with access. And that's how we're going to do this work, is by working collaboratively with people. That's how we're going to be effective in it.
Okay. I like how you answered. You swimmed around it, but you swim in it a little bit. But what I do want to know, who is in this coalition? Talk to me,
Who's in
brother. You
our
said all of
coalition?
it is 100 people. Who are these 100
Yep.
folks?
We have several members. We have ByteBack, Associated Black Charities, Digital
Okay.
Harbor Foundation,
So they're
the Mayor's
organization.
Office of Employment Development, the Baltimore City Office of Broadband and Digital Equity, United Way. Yes, there's several different organizations. Mhm.
So it's organizations. Okay.
But
Got it.
individuals are welcome to come to our meetings as well. Um,
When are your
we want
meetings?
community to come, and we meet bi-monthly
Bi-monthly?
as a coalition, and then we work to have in-person events bi-monthly as well. And so one of the things I know you recall us speaking about it was Maryland Digital Equity Day. We're going to have the second annual Maryland Digital Equity Day in a couple of weeks, and that is not just a Baltimore centric event. That is very much focused on how do we get together as a state to focus on this issue, because what some people may not understand is that in order to solve a lot of issues in our communities, it requires you to work with other communities that are outside of your community,
Of
outside of your
course.
city. When we're talking about the Affordable Connectivity Program Extension Act of 2024,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that impacts Baltimore, but that is a national program.
Mm-hmm.
That is federally funded. It's the
Yeah,
whole.
it's not just
No,
Baltimore.
it's not just Baltimore. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to work with other entities in order to build support for this, so that our people can benefit from it.
Okay. And so, yeah, I would like to know more about the meetings. And when you guys have the
Mhm.
meetings, if you could shoot us the flyer, we would help market
Absolutely. I would
that.
love to have you. You want to know what something that may interest you is that our first meeting of 2024, we had a presentation from the Baltimore City Office of Broadband and Digital Equity on their digital inclusion strategy. But we also had a special guest, and that special guest was the chair of the Black Caucus of Maryland. So we are very much focused on the reality that we know that Black people are disproportionately impacted by the digital divide that continues to plague our communities.
Absolutely. And so yeah, it's very important for us to get this information out.
Mhm.
And I would love to be a marketing partner to
Thank you.
because my goal is to inform the Black community. I don't have to be a special guest at the meeting. I can just come and look and see
Yes.
and listen. It's very important. These organizations, I see that when we build coalesce, when we coalesce,
Mhm.
when it comes to something as big as the digital divide and digital equity, it's about the organizations. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that every organization is that. It is its own silo, but it comes together with other as you guys are coalescing. But how is the community getting to that? Where's the community voice? I think a lot of times we sit in space and we make decisions for folks who who really can tell you what their issues are, but
Mhm.
they just don't have, it's never a time where both are in the same space. And so I want to see more of that. It's the community talking themselves, not a bunch of folks who are head of organizations making decisions for people in community who don't have access, because the folks
Mhm.
in the rooms have the access. It's that's what I say about Congress. It's hard for rich people to make law for poor people, make laws for people who have issues, because they've always been rich.
Mm.
So I think that it's important for us to include the community more, and
Mhm.
look at ways to do that. And when we go the organizational route, it is people who are in the community, but they are in organizations. And I think we need to move past that a little. What do you think on that? Am I wrong in that assessment?
I think that you are right to the point of we do not need people to tell us what we need. We need the people who are impacted to tell us what they need.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Mhm.
I think that's very important. As me starting my technology journey with young people, the first thing I had was a focus group, because I just knew I need to hear from them. And
Mhm.
because me, the OG is wanting to start something for young folks or for folks who are at a different age demographic than I need to talk to them and see what inspires them. And not me say, okay, this is what you need. This is good for you. No, let me hear from you. And not that everything you said we're going to do, but I need to hear it. I need to know
Mhm.
what inspires you. And I don't, and a lot of times I see coalitions, it's never the voice of the people.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's always the United Ways and all of these big
Well, let me tell you
organizations.
this. The United Way is very much connected to the community. And so they do
There you
come
go,
in
marketing.
to they
I love
do
it.
come in and they understand because they help so many people through
They do.
running 211 to
They do.
actually having different grants to piloting different programs.
Absolutely.
And in a lot of ways, they can actually connect folks, the marketers, to those who do marketing to real life stories. And a lot of getting this work done is actually tying it to stories of people who actually have a personal connection or
Mm.
disconnection. How about that, to this issue?
Okay. Well, I think listen, I am not beating down United Way. I know they've been around a long time. I know they got their toes in these fires, and they definitely have done a lot in community. And they're a national
Sure.
organization. Yeah, they're not just in Baltimore. So we got to be
No.
clear about that. So they have resources, but I just always champion the small man. I know that they're the ones who are virtually affected.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have coalitions, you definitely you have partners. But
Yeah,
most of the times when we out here in the hood, we by ourselves, bruh.
I
You
understand.
know, we out on the island by ourselves, so we need to have. I think they need voices and
Sure,
a space to talk. And so
sure,
I want to kind of say that to you as a coalition is have some community talks.
absolutely.
And if you're gonna have some of those, I want to be there.
And I
You know,
want you there.
yeah, let's do that. Let's talk to the community. Let's let them come on in. You know, I think it's important. And
Mhm.
so digital equity, what from Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition, what is you guys' next goals? What's the next
Mhm.
benchmark?
Yep. The next benchmark is making sure that resources make their way back to Baltimore on this issue.
Mm,
This issue, as far as expanding high speed internet
mm-hmm,
connectivity, getting people skilled, getting people devices, it's going to take money to do. It's going
absolutely.
to take time to do.
Yes.
So actually ensuring that we have all the things that we do to help bridge that digital divide. It's going to be some money. It's going to be some people coming in and helping us. So our goal as a coalition is to make sure that we are advocating for what the needs of the city is.
Hmm. Okay. And that's getting so when you say getting the money back to Baltimore, when you say
Getting
that
Baltimore its fair share. I know you hear that story that
all the
all the
time,
time.
all the time.
How do we
It,
get the city its fair share
it's fair
based
share
on what the
for what
need is? Based
exactly.
on what the need is. And
Exactly.
if we know that, it's a little lower than 40% now, but that
Is it
96,
beautiful?
40%, 96,000 households don't have the internet.
Don't
What
have
is it
internet.
going to take to get them the internet? And 9 times out of 10, that's money. And so that's making sure one of the big things we're advocating for is the Affordable Connectivity Program, because
Mm-hmm.
that subsidy, as we said earlier, is a lifeline to communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it may be, how do we actually make the investment to expand internet access? And maybe that's through private philanthropy, maybe that's through private companies, maybe that's a mix of government dollars as well, but making
Mm-hmm.
sure that, again, those dollars that will then build capacity
Mm-hmm.
in order to expand. Mhm.
Expand because I think yes, it is good to have this subsidy, but we have to have a plan.
Absolutely.
They won't subsidize forever. Subsidy is just
Well,
that. And so
sometimes
we have to find a plan.
there's a such thing as permanent subsidy, but I think that gets to the point of,
That'd be
is there a
beautiful.
plan to do it? You know what I'm
What's
saying?
the
I hear
plan
you
to
when you
make it
say the
permanent?
plan, right?
Yeah, and where the resources that's going to make it permanent. Yeah,
And
yeah.
what's and highlighting what our values are. To make an
Mm,
investment in a permanent subsidy, that is a reflection of our values to me.
yeah.
Do we want people connected so that they can have a job, so that they can access telehealth, so that they can have virtual learning opportunities, so that they can be increased public safety, so that there's transportation equity? That's a big conversation that is continuing and ongoing around this issue.
I think it's a big conversation, but it also moves into our social movements and our and how we think about people.
Mm,
And so we have to be very conscious that as we build these new systems,
hmm.
and like the internet started in 1983, like we're not far away from
No,
these new systems that we're
no,
seeing. 1993 was when we first got online and got it going. The whole world was on the internet. So we're not far away from these things. And
no.
we have this new system called technology that is it's not new, but it's very emerging and doing great things, but we continue to have these divides. And
Sure.
these are intentional movements. So we got to look at ourselves like, why do we create new things and then create it for certain individuals or certain people or certain places, whatever, however it's created, we're
Mhm.
dividing folks and giving some access and some not access. So that is intentional. That is a mindset that is changing the way that we do things. And we got to look at that as why do we keep creating things and then we leave people behind? That is intentional movements. These are not just like out of the blue, the digital divide it didn't just appear. At the beginning, it was set up this way, and then now it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. We look at 40%, 42% of the world does not have access to the internet, and it's usually women and girls. That that is a that's intentional. And so we got to look at our social norms too and how we feel about people, because Baltimore being a black city, and it being this black population and not having fiber and not moving with the infrastructure fast enough, that's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And would that happen in where I go to, Charleston, South Carolina, where it's 80% white? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would be the same movement, because we have to look at how things are being set up and the people who are setting it up. We have, and if we don't do that, then we defeat ourselves by saying making subsidies, and we don't need subsidies if you set the shit up right. Excuse my
That's
language.
right.
I mean, this is serious. Sorry, I forgot what I'm at. If we set it up right, we don't need subsidies. If we set the system so everyone has access, there's no divide. And if it is one, we can adjust immediately. We can't adjust out of this divide because it's burgeoning every day. You get what I'm saying? And so I want to know, when do we look at that proportion and how we're setting these systems up? You get what I'm saying when it comes to digital equity? And are you guys looking at that like another way of kind of implementing systems that puts everyone at the table? Is
Well,
it
that's the importance of coalition building, and we can
okay?
always be better.
Okay,
We want community.
that's why we coalesce.
Community guides our work,
Mm-hmm.
because who are we advocating for if we've not spoken to community? So
Absolutely.
again, hearing the stories,
Yes.
knowing what the issues are, and
Yes.
that then informs us what the need is, so that
Mm-hmm.
then we know what we're advocating for.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, what more can you do? Unless you call people out individually. You this. And pointing fingers never gets anything done.
No,
I think we have to look at it as a holistic thing, and we all are better when everyone's connected.
that's correct.
That's just it. We all are better. So, last thing I want to talk about.
Yeah,
I want to talk about this brother Scott. I don't like to call him Brandon. I think he deserves Mayor Scott.
Mayor Scott, absolutely.
Mayor Scott has said that by 2030,
Mm-hmm.
2030, which
Mm-hmm.
that's the same 2030, the entire Baltimore will have access to the internet.
Great.
And I think that's great. So that's 7 years away though, bro. And technology is going to go.
So I think that's the conversation around having the conversation about digital equity, is that yes, at some point we will probably have everyone who wants to be connected will be connected, but then we're going to have a continuing conversation around speeds and um, um, utilization and what that means for
You're
speeds and
right
what
in
that
my
means.
head.
So
Yes.
I do think that there is an ongoing conversation once everyone gets connected. But putting a timeline to that work is a great goal.
I think it's an absolute great goal, but I think we're not talking about what we're going to do in 7 years. I think that if we're all connected at 2030 and you're connected, but you're 7 years behind everyone else and getting connected, and then you say, now I'm here, now we still have a digital divide. We're still
Sure.
creating spaces. And
Mm-hmm.
so what are we going to do in 2024? What
Yeah.
are we going to do in 2025, 26
Mm-hmm.
to say it's a very broad statement?
Yeah. To have benchmarks. That's what I'm hearing you say. We
Yeah,
need
I hear
benchmarks
that's
to
his
say what we're
benchmark.
doing.
I think that it's a great benchmark, but I think it also leaves a lot of time in between. And I have not heard, okay, if it's 2030, then what are we going to do in the first seven,
Mm-hmm.
in this seven? So that I just have these real questions because I think it's very important for us to have these questions.
Yep.
And
I agree.
yeah, and so I like his benchmark, and really, if he has another 4 years, he won't be here to see it. You get what I'm saying?
I
So
understand you.
yeah, he won't be the mayor. So for him, it's very audacious, and it sounds good to say that, but you won't even be in play because even if you have another 4 years, you can't run again. You get what I'm
Oh
saying?
no, the mayor in Baltimore is not term limited.
I thought it was.
Is it now term limited? It actually may
I
be.
might
It
listen.
may now. We may now be term limited. It
Give
has
me
not
my civics,
always been.
bro. Give
No,
me the civics, but
well,
I thought they had eight
it
years.
wasn't. Let me say this, and let me correct myself. I do think in the last election there was a charter amendment on the ballot,
I think
but I
so.
do recall several mayors. I think William Donald Schaefer was one of them. I know Kirk Schmuck was one of them who served multiple terms that were on.
Multiple terms, yeah. Yeah, I
But
think
I do
they
think
put a lid on that.
I do think there was I corrected
Hmm.
myself. There was a ballot question
Yes.
on the ballot.
On the ballot. I think we get in civics, and I'm not sure. We both are not sure, but I'm thinking it is.
I'm trying to remember. That was 4 years ago, but I am sure that there was a
There
question
was something on the ballot.
on the ballot. Yep, I
Yeah,
try to
it
remember.
was. And
I quickly
so,
corrected myself. That's the one thing about being a leader is that you must correct yourself when you've made a mistake.
but you know what? Yes, you have to. But a leader should make mistakes.
Mhm.
And that's how you learn. If to be a leader, you make mistakes, you correct yourself, and then you go forward. So I don't have a problem with that. I'm going to look it up too. So
Mhm.
we'll both know. But even with that, I just think that I would love to hear 2026, 27, something that he would have his hands on.
Yeah.
Because if you make audacious statements, then you should be the one performing that statement. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
To say what's the next man's going to do, I'm not sure about that. And so I think, and a lot of times politicians, they speak in paragraphs
Mhm.
and they speak in years,
Mhm.
because that's how they work. But
Yeah.
the people need it now.
Mhm.
Southwest Baltimore over here, out here, need it now. South Baltimore, they need it now, and
Mhm.
because that's what we are. So I work a lot in South Baltimore and Southwest Baltimore, and I see a dearth of problems. And I hear from the politicians these long awaited movements.
Mhm.
So how does the BDAC work with something like that, like getting everyone connected with the mayor's statements?
Well, I'll say this that to put a timeline on it,
Mm-hmm.
some of our members are very happy about that
Okay.
because we could have had, you know, no timeline
Sure.
to hold ourselves accountable to.
That's what we had before. Yep.
So, no, that it's good to put a timeline, but I also hear you when you say, "What are we doing in 26? What are we doing in 27?" And we should have benchmarks along the way to 2030.
That's what I'm talking about, the benchmarks. Okay. Now,
Sure.
what is the small goal?
Right.
Because to make
To
these.
know if we're on par to meet the 2030 goal. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Agree.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't know if that's there. I mean, I went and tried to I pulled it up, just trying to
Yeah.
see exactly what they're saying, but I don't see the benchmarks. I just
Mhm.
see the audacious by 2030, and we're going to be here, here, here. And that might change. Things change every day. And
Mhm.
so you guys are happy about the date, but there are no benchmarks, in other words. That's what you're saying, right?
But I trust that there will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Cody, listen, you're very informative.
Thank you.
You
I
are,
feel like
and
I've learned a lot from you as well.
yeah, you're very informative, and I want you're very good at this at this movement. I kind of move people around sometimes, but you stay, you keep you stand your ground. So this has been the stand your ground law. I love it. When I tell you stuff, you're
Well, I
back
think it's
at it.
also about being realistic about what
True.
some people's human capacity is. Is
Mm,
that, and I don't want us to forget that we are not robots. There are people on the ground who are doing this work and have been doing it for years. So
yes.
when we say that something is going to be done by 2030, that is taken into consideration that it is not robots doing this work, it is community doing this work, it is technicians building the infrastructure, it
Yep.
is actually hearing from the community to understand what the need is or where there should be public Wi-Fi access points, is actually working with ISPs to make sure that the connectivity is strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot that goes into this work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am in a place of understanding what human capacity is when we are going to create these goals.
And we have to know human capacity, because if we
Mm-hmm.
work, we're not robots.
No.
Yeah, human capacity is important, and so
Mm-hmm.
you knowing that is a great thing. And lastly, this is it:
Okay.
being an OSI fellow, right?
Yes.
And talking, OSI has put up over 250 social entrepreneurs in Baltimore.
Absolutely.
Such a beautiful movement, and it's now ended, but we're still in our last cohort, and I'm in the last cohort, and we end in May. And it's a few technology movements in the cohort.
Mm-hmm.
How do we have conversations with a coalition and with our programs and the things, because we're very grassroots. We're connected more to the community because we're in community.
Mm-hmm.
How do we have these conversations, and also ways to sponsor, invest, whatever, into our programs now that OSI has moved on, can how does coalitions like you that have all of these big names invest in us us grassroots leaders? How does that work?
Well, let me say one thing. Shout out to OSI because they
Shout
have been
out.
a consistent supporter and funder of our mission, and we're thankful for OSI. I think that part of the things, and this is what I have conversations with people about, is that when you're working on different projects, I am asking people, my request of individuals is that there is a digital equity component to it because, again, it's intersectional. And I am pretty sure that there are a lot of people who are not focused on a tech issue, but
Digital.
digital equity still intertwines with their
Absolutely.
work. So, including a component of digital equity in that work, whether that's food security,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's public safety, whether that's technology, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's health,
Mm-hmm.
considering that we are now in the 21st century and that there is a digital component to that work.
Okay, and I think that's important. And but my project per se is technology.
Mm-hmm.
Is all and I looking at the community and want to have a community piece.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we have the communication with a coalition like this, who's working towards equity, digital equity, and then also has partners and resources that maybe we can access? How do we get
Well,
in the building?
we work together, and you start by coming to a coalition meeting. We have an advisory board to help steer our work.
Okay.
We have myself,
Mm-hmm.
and having the conversation, and then figuring out if there are synergies and collaborating.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So
It's just that simple.
we got to reach out. That's just what it is. Reach
We
out.
have to keep in touch.
Keep in touch. Okay, because I'm always advocating for like OSI and the fellows because we're here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of the work still going, and it will go once OSI is done
Mm-hmm.
in May, and we need to continue this work and have relationships with these type of coalitions because OSI usually was the bus for that. We'll just get on the bus and they would connect,
Mm-hmm.
but that's ended. And I just want to find a vehicle that fills that gap. In other words,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's
But
absolutely good.
I'm looking forward to continued conversation
Okay,
with Black Box Radio and Queen,
that's right. And
Westside
the
Fellows,
Squeegee Project.
and the Squeegee Project.
That's
We're gonna
right.
keep it up. And you talk about the Squeegee Project for a second. Let me tell you, I'm keep up the good work. Keep it
Thank
up.
you. Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to tell folks because a lot of folks don't know that we have the Black Box Radio. It is definitely our community platform. But we also have the Squeegee Project, and we're working crafting curriculum. It is a workforce development program
Mm-hmm.
teaching core technological concepts within a coding and game design model to
Mm-hmm.
Black opportunity youth between the ages of 18 and 25.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever I go in the country, Cody, 16 to 25 is outside, chilling or doing their thing. And we need to inspire these young people. And so it's important for us to look at that age group where you're grown and not grown. Like when I was in college, I thought I was so grown, but really, no, no, no. And no, I wasn't. At Morgan, we weren't grown.
Mm-hmm.
So, that age between 18 and 25 is a very, it's
Sure.
almost like your age when you're from 7 to 10. You
Yep.
learn so much.
Yep.
And they're learning to be an adult, and a lot of them don't have skill sets,
That's
and
right.
they come from schools that sometimes are not equipping them in Baltimore
That's
City.
right.
So I really want to folks to please email us at the Squeegee Project 21.
Yep.
Please email us at gmail.com and get in touch with us. And if you have anything that we can be a part of or we can learn about technology, please reach out.
Thank
Cody.
you. And I'm
Listen,
looking
I have
forward to
enjoyed
being in
this.
touch.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed your information. I knew you would be a winner. And so I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you took time out of your because you've traveled. You're not even in Baltimore. You took time out to sit with me in Philly. So I appreciate that.
But let me tell you, that's the importance of the internet, is
Ah,
that in strong internet that I can sit here and stream with you tonight from
digital
wherever I
equity
am.
right here.
That's
Access
digital
right
equity.
here.
If I was somewhere without strong connectivity, we would not have been able to do this.
That's so
So
true.
I'm glad that we were able to do it, and I'm glad that we are both in a place where we have internet access.
This is a sample of what we just was talking about. Is you're
Mm-hmm.
not in Baltimore. I'm in Baltimore, and you have to have technology to get this done.
Absolutely.
4 years ago, we weren't
Would
doing
have been
this.
tough.
Real
It would have been
tough.
tough.
Real tough.
Before Zoom got popular, we would have been on freeconferencecall.com or something, right?
You know it before Zoom bust on and we was in trouble. Zoom came in COVID, it made some money, I tell you. It made some serious money. So listen, Cody, everyone who comes on, they leave a jewel.
Okay.
So we need you to drop your jewel, bro. Drop.
Well, I think my jewel will be a quote that's one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Maya Angelou, and it says simply, I will not be abused, I will not be misused, not willingly, but I will be of use. Anyone who is not of use is useless. So for me, I do not want to be useless. So I'm always looking to be of use, and I'm looking forward to serving.
Listen, I think you knocked that one out the box, bro. We close to the stadium. I'm waiting for the ball to hit me. You knocked that one out the stadium. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Maya Angelou, what a warrior of our community. A beautiful,
And a great
ancestor.
figure, not just in Black history, but American history of what's possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a woman who was not educated, self-educated. So
Right.
it's such a beautiful thing. And so listen, I appreciate you bringing your genius to Black Box Radio. The community appreciates it. We have not had a lot of interaction from the community, but what happens with my videos if people go back and look, and that's the important thing, is having this library of information. So if you weren't able to be with us, you can source us. And again, that's technology.
That's right.
Again, so you can go on our website or you can go on YouTube. And this is the last, I promise. We are having a fundraiser and an appreciation for the community on 9/15/24. And I always talk about it each time I'm on because I want everyone to come out. I want you to sign the wall in the studio. I want you to be a part of this celebration. And we want to fundraise for the Squeegee Project. So please put that on your calendar now, Cody.
9/15.
9, yes, 9.
I'm gonna look at my calendar right now. September 15th.
You're
giving me enough notice, so we're gonna try to make that happen.
That's right. So you see that right there?
That's a Sunday.
Yep. 7 months and 2 days.
215. What does that mean? I think that's Philly's area code. So that's what caught my attention.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that is Philly's area code. Matter of fact, what do you think that 215 means?
Fill me in.
Huh?
Fill me in.
Guess what? You want me to be honest?
Yes.
I didn't make the flyer.
Okay.
I know what it means, but now I don't know what it means. But I know that 7 months and 2 days.
Yep.
Oh, it's 215 days.
Nice.
Yeah, 215 days, 7 months. Oh no, it can't be. It's in 2 days away. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's right, because 365, 300.
Yeah, so it's 250 days. Exactly. Okay. That's what it means. Yeah. See? Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So listen, have a good night. Get you something to eat. Travel well coming back. You come back next week, right?
No, come back this week.
Come back this week. So travel well. Have given you traveling mercy. Thank you so much for your contribution. Be blessed. Have a good night. Let's get them deuces. Peace. We're out, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.